Welcome to another edition of IPJ the podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Gonzalez, and I'm back in the air chair to bring you the true stories of local government crime and corruption you need to know about so you can make an informed and positive decision at the ballot box. We have so much to catch up on, so let's get right to it. During the last few months, my team and I have brought you the inside story of the city of Los Banos and its corrupt leadership. Los Banos is a small agricultural community of over 46,000 residents. The town is located on the western side of Merced County and was originally settled in the 1840s. And no, the name Los Banos does not mean the bathroom in Spanish. It means the baths, and was aptly named due to a spring that feeds natural wetlands in the western San Joaquin Valley. Currently, the great city of Los Banos is led by 5 duly elected Los Banos residents. They are Kenneth Lambert of District 1, Douglas Begonia of District 2, Brett Jones of District 3, and Deborah Lewis of District 4. At the head of the city is its mayor, Paul Llanez. Over the last several months, my team and I have discovered many issues that rang the bells of corruption. Some were minor, like Kenneth Lambert not paying his business taxes, or Paul Llanez wanting to put his employee on the city payroll, to a bit more serious issues like Kenneth Lambert filing for American Rescue Plan funds and receiving them before any other Los Banos city business owner, while he himself owes back taxes, which actually should have disqualified him from receiving those funds like others were. To Mayor Llanez, lying on camera regarding his employee he pushed to get $7,500 a month from you, the Los Banos taxpayers, to post social media content on the internet. This same creator had published racist-leaning videos that the city councilwoman, Deborah Lewis, opposed. But Llanez was able to sway the rest of the city council to go along with his grift. Yes, it turns out when the Los Banos city mayor, Paul Llanez, said this:
"You were going to appoint your nephew, I believe it was, to do the social media. That's the rumor that we heard. I don't know if that's the case. Do you know the guy? I don't know.
I'm not related to anybody. It's in."
He was lying, because the legal partner of a known drug abuser, the city of Los Banos' own city attorney William Vaughn, stated this on the record during their January 3rd, 2024 meeting.
As council members, are we supposed to let the public know why we're recusing ourselves from a project before we
I think
leave?
the mayor stated it at the last meeting.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me, I'd like to pull item B for discussion and a separate vote, please. B as in boy, yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
the gentleman that you had to recuse yourself for, what was that about?
I hired him as a separate
He was with your other company, or was he with, has he ever worked for Knowledge?
Yes.
He has. So did you hire him for that, or did you also hire him for the city?
So tonight was about hiring him for the city.
Right,
Yes.
but before,
Yes.
he's been earning like $800 a month.
I have no idea.
So you didn't know he was working for the city then?
I know that they've done things for the city,
Gotcha.
but again, voting, I
Did you
can't
know
vote
about
on.
his videos? They have like gang type of things on there and
I
other
only know
criminal
about the videos
elements.
he's produced for me. That's the only thing I'm aware of. Yes.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate your time, sir.
Do we have to state it at each meeting when we leave?
Probably better form. I think the statement was that he had some relations to the applicant.
But there are even more issues coming to light. From the Los Banos city manager, Paul the Pinhead Pinero, being legally fired by the previous city council, then immediately receiving $1.8 million and a change to policy where he can't be fired now without all 5 members voting to fire him. And this waste of your Los Banos taxpayer dollars was because the Los Banos city mayor, Pumpkin Paul Llanez, was too afraid to fight for you, the Los Banos city taxpayer. You see, the insurance company that protects you, the city taxpayer, from such frivolous attempts to legally steal taxpayer dollars said no to giving Paul the Pinhead Pinero any money and were willing to fight him all the way through in court to prove he was legitimately fired. But once you, the taxpayers of Los Banos, voted for Paul Llanez and his corrupt cohorts in the last election, Paul the Pinhead Pinero's $1.8 million corruption was all but secured. During my break, my team came across a legal complaint filed in court recently that you, the Los Banos voters, need to know about your mayor and his ill and ineffective leadership. From his belief that if the city were to seek bids for their internet service, the current provider would just cut the city off, to his decision not to fight for Los Banos city taxpayers by handing over $1.8 million of your taxpayer dollars to a disgruntled employee. Now, a recent court filing dated November 1st, 2021 shows just how bad and ineffective leadership can and will lead not only to victimizing you, the local taxpayers, but to someone's injury and even death. But before we get into that, let's look at the context behind the actions of Los Banos City Mayor Paul Llanez. For a time, the Los Banos City Mayor Paul Llanez was hired as the temporary director of public safety for Perlada Community College District, or PCCD. There are some similarities to what Paul Llanez is doing to your city government and what he unfortunately did for PCCD and a potential lawsuit. In a story published by the Perlada Citizen, which is Perlada Community College District's only student-run publication, Llanez is no stranger to bad ideas. I'll post a link to the stories I'm about to reference in the description box below this YouTube video. Basically, your mayor, Paul Llanez, set PCCD up for a lawsuit when he claimed that PCCD should have only one security company. PCCD directors apparently acted upon his ill-conceived advice without reviewing the legalities of such a decision and without notification to the current security providers. Like in Los Banos, Paul Llanez just potentially handed out more millions in legal claims because he apparently doesn't understand contracts. But that's actually a small issue. Once the reporters started looking further into Paul Llanez, they found worse leadership decisions that left security guards unarmed and having to use their own cell phones to communicate with their supervisors, even during critical incidents. In a follow-up story dated October 27, 2021 by The Citizen titled, "Marina Security Guards Lack Basic Communication Equipment," multiple security officers were interviewed by The Citizen and stated they must either use their personal cell phones or physically locate the supervisor to report any incidents. This is problematic, particularly at the Merritt campus, which is known for its spotty cell phone reception. One of the Citizen reporters actually visiting the campus had no signal on his Verizon cell phone. The Citizen also learned at least one Marina security guard at Llanez was not provided with a chair or protection from the elements. The guard had to pull their car onto campus so they could find shelter from the rain without leaving their post. Since implementing Paul Llanez's plan of a one security company that he chose, Marina Security has been charging for dispatch services alone to the tune of $1.5 million. In their contract, it explicitly requires their security guards to walk the assigned campuses with two-way communication devices. Yet Llanez apparently allowed the company to save money by forcing employees to use their cell phones. even though a set of two-way radios on Amazon costs as much as about $79. And yes, security communications are a bit more expensive, but you're still looking at a couple of $1,000s and not 1.5 million. And thanks to Paul Llanez's impeccable leadership in security, the number of crimes on or near the Perlota campuses increased under his direction. In an email to the Citizen, Llanez said the district is working with project managers in regards to software upgrades for communication platforms, but declined to provide further details on who has radios or what platform security staff use, since he considers this to be tactical information and not something I recommend the district share with the general public, Llanez cited. He also cited California Government Code Section 6254, which exempts public agencies from disclosure requirements if the public's interest in withholding these records, or those records, clearly outweighs the public interest in disclosure. But the public interest in the amount of money that was spent for communications, or whether or not the security guards have radios at all to be able to communicate with their dispatchers to get help to those who may need it in an emergency, and where that money was actually spent, far outweighs anything considered by Section 6254, which is a law enforcement go-to section to try and hide their actions from the public. Basically, Llanez used the section so he didn't have to tell the reporter the security guards use their own cell phones. Paul Llanez was also tasked with creating a Memorandum of Understanding, or what is also referred to as an MOU, with the Oakland PD. And it was supposed to be his top priority. But once again, because Paul Llanez lacks any real leadership skills or the ability to jump in and get the job done, he screwed that up too. The MOU was supposed to spell out the policies and procedures between the district and the local police departments and would identify the types of incidents for which the local Oakland Police Department would be called. The California Attorney General made it easy for Paul Llanez and others to write up such an MOU by creating a free template on the state's website. In January of 2022, PCCD was finally rid of Paul Llanez. The new director, and seems to be pretty competent, Tim Thomas, immediately retrained the marina security supervisors and finally opened conversations regarding an MOU with the Oakland PD and other law enforcement departments. According to the Oakland PD, no one from PCCD ever contacted them regarding an MOU before the new director, Tim Thomas. Tim Thomas met with their police chief, deputy police chief from the OPD on October 10th, and Chief Nishat Joshi, I hope I got that right, or Yoshi, and Field Services Captain Jeff Emmett of the Alameda Police Department on February 7th. And that is within days of his taking over leadership from Llanez, who failed to even begin by picking up a phone and starting a conversation with these departments. But Pumpkin Paul Llanez didn't just leave one lawsuit pending. No. He also ensured he had a restraining order filed on him before he left over his bully tactics and lack of knowledge when it comes to the law. The case was filed in federal court on November 1st, 2021 in Oakland, California, and it states that on October 9th, 2021, defendant Llanez personally ordered plaintiffs Kevin Baum and Alejandra Van Pell to vacate a property they occupied and lived on. As his legal authority, your mayor, Paul Llanez, falsely stated that Perlota College is the owner of the property. The plaintiffs knew that what Paul Llanez was saying was incorrect because they had an email and related documents showing that the property does not belong to Perlota. But Llanez did not heed the plaintiffs' objections that the college did not own the property. He refused to look at the evidence proving such and did not himself show any documents to back up his contentions that the college owned the property. Llanez then threatened the defendants by claiming he would return and tow all of their vehicles from the property, including the one they were currently living in, and would also remove all of their personal possessions, and then physically if they did not vacate the property by November 2nd, 2021. Pumpkin Paul Llanez, who is supposed to be very knowledgeable on the law as a police officer, even though we can't find much about his career in law enforcement, was quickly slapped down by the court, and to this day, Kevin and Alejandra still live at the property that Pumpkin Paul Llanez tried to illegally take from them. As you can see from the Los Banos City Mayor's past record of leadership, he talks a good game while delivering very poor results. Take the homeless issue. Have you noticed any change in the homeless situation in your city, Los Banos? Well, of course not, because you have a leader who does not understand how to lead. When you lead, you have to lead from the front, and you have to take on hard decisions. You have to be willing to come up with unique and successful ideas that can help with the homeless situation. Yes, it's not something you can cure overnight, but you can start to build budgets to help possibly build some mini homes or buy some land that you can start to build RV stations. Outside thinking like this is what will make the difference. Sitting around on your pumpkin Paul ass doing nothing will continue to make Los Banos City look like this. And this is the result of Pumpkin Paul Llanez and his mayoralship. So how did he become the mayor of Los Banos? Simple. He ran unopposed. And now, after handing out $1.5 million to Marina Security for comm center they never installed, he then hands out $1.8 million to the fired Los Banos city manager because Pinhead Pinero threatened to sue the city. Instead of standing up for you, the taxpayers, he cowers to Pinhead and dished out $1.8 million. He then pays his own employee relative $7,500 a month of your taxpayer dollars to post on social media, probably about how great he is. And he continues to spend your hard-earned money like he knows he won't be reelected. Got to grease those city leaders while he's still in office to get those kickbacks from contracts with the city later. And yes, that's what he's hoping to do, to use his office to benefit himself, his relatives, and his friends. Why? Why not? You're not paying attention, and you won't show up to vote him out. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the like button, and ring that bell to stay abreast of our latest content. And before I go, I want to say a huge thank you to you and words of gratitude to every one of those on my team. You know who you are. You are the silent ones, the ones that no one knows about. And your work is what makes IPJ the podcast the go-to source for true stories people need to hear to make positive change at the ballot box. From the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every one of you. For IPJ the podcast, I'm Matthew Gonzalez, reminding all of you that you are very important to all of us in this crazy world, and that you, in fact, do have a voice right here at IPJ the podcast, because we are your voice. So use it.